Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a trip back to the early 17th century. But listen, we aren't just looking at a group of dusty, boring academics. No, we are looking at an absolute elite squad. I mean, think of them as the ultimate academic dream team. They were assembled for a truly monumental, incredibly high-stakes task, translating the foundational narratives of the New Testament for the King James Bible. Now, this specific group was known as the Second Oxford Company, and their massive assignment was to tackle the Gospels and the Acts of the Apostles.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because right off the bat, this company faced a massive foundational conflict. The core question they had to answer was, how do you balance royal beauty with a servant's clarity? I mean, think about it. They were writing a book commissioned by an actual king, right? It was destined to be read out loud in grand echoing cathedrals. But at its core, it was fundamentally a book about fishermen, carpenters, and a message meant for everyday, normal people.
And that brings us to this immense tension. On one side, you have the huge demand for high-level academic Greek. That's the rigorous, totally exacting scholarly standard expected by the universities, and of course the crown. But then on the flip side, you have the reality of the text itself. It's the common, accessible language that was literally used by the apostles to spread the message of Christ in the first place. So the Second Oxford Company had to somehow build a bridge between these two completely different worlds. And to pull that off, they needed some hyper-specialized experts. Let's meet them.
First up on the roster is Leonard Hutton, the historian.
Hutton was this incredible scholar, super highly regarded for his venerable learning and a famously peaceable spirit. As the subdean of Christ Church, his main focus was on giving the English people a really firm historical foundation. But what's really interesting here is his superpower, Greek antiquities. See, he wasn't just translating vocabulary words, he was literally translating ancient culture. Hutton was the guy who made sure that every single time the Gospels described Judean customs or local geography, they were rendered with absolute historical accuracy so the everyday reader could actually understand them.
Moving on to number 2, we have John Aglionby, the syntactician.
So Aglionby actually lived a pretty fascinating double life. He was a chaplain to King James I, meaning he was constantly navigating the complex royal court, all while remaining a deeply humble scholar. As principal of St. Edmund Hall, he really championed that exact balance we talked about earlier, royal beauty mixed with servant's clarity. His specific linguistic edge? An absolute mastery of Greek syntax. He knew precisely how words needed to connect to form a cohesive, beautiful flow. Just think about the Book of Acts for a second. It's an action-packed historical account, right? Well, Aglionby ensured the English translation kept that exact same energetic, compelling pace that you'd find in the original Greek. Next up is number 3, Thomas Harrison, the Untangler.
Now, Harrison was a guy known for his singular modesty. He's the one often working quietly behind the scenes to smooth things out and reconcile differences between the other translators. As vice master of Trinity College, he viewed the unity of the Bible as a direct reflection of the church. But practically speaking, he was tackling a massive linguistic headache for the team, Hebraic Greek idioms. You see, the gospel writers were very often thinking in Hebrew or Aramaic in their heads, but they were physically writing the words down in Greek. So Harrison was the expert who basically untangled these hidden roots. He was decoding a Hebrew thought that was wrapped inside a Greek word, all just to find the absolute perfect English equivalent. Talk about a puzzle.
All right, number 4, John Harmar, the Greek Titan.
Harmar was widely considered the absolute heavy hitter of the entire translation project. He brought this exhaustive, truly prayerful scrutiny to every single verse. As the Regius professor at Oxford, his devotion was expressed through what they called pious industry. But his real edge? It was an unparalleled next-level proficiency in both formal Attic Greek and Koine Greek, which was the common, everyday street language of the time. Because of this, Harmar ensured the unique flavor of each original writer actually survived the translation process. It's totally thanks to him that we can feel the sharp, analytical precision of Luke right alongside the soaring, poetic depth of John.
Finally, we arrive at number 5, Sir Henry Savile, the manuscript mastermind. Look, every dream team needs a coordinator, right? And Savile was the mastermind. Fascinatingly enough, he was actually one of the few laymen on the entire project, yet he was perhaps the most wealthy and influential scholar in all of England. As the warden of Merton College, he really viewed this Bible as a national monument. His specific linguistic edge was Greek paleography, which is the study of ancient handwriting. Using his own insanely valuable personal library, Savile cross-referenced the Greek roots against ancient handwritten texts, rather than just relying on standard printed books. He made absolutely sure the translation was grounded in the best possible ancient evidence.
Now, Savile's intense devotion was often characterized as literal academic martyrdom, and we actually have a rather amusing, if maybe a slightly tragic historical footnote that proves it. This famous complaint is from his wife, Lady Savile. She literally said to him, "I wish I were a book so you would spend more time with me." Wow. He was just completely, utterly consumed by his scholarly pursuits. Let's pull it all together and look at this monumental translation legacy and the complete roster. When you step back and really look at the combined legacy of this extraordinary 17th century crew, you start to realize the sheer magnitude of what they accomplished. This right here is how you build a national monument of learning. You take Hutton with his historical foundations, then you snap him together with Aglionby for that beautiful narrative flow. You add Harrison to untangle all those messy idioms, bring in Harmar to preserve the exact flavor of the Greek, and then you wrap the whole shebang under Savile's rigorous manuscript coordination. These hyper-specialized minds fit together perfectly, literally like machined puzzle pieces. Which leaves us with this final, rather provocative thought for today's explainer. Savile was really one of the very first scholars to treat the Bible with the same rigorous textual criticism that we use today. He was investigating the actual history of the physical ink and parchment to find the truest ancient roots, tracing things all the way back to 4th century manuscripts. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How does investigating the physical ink and parchment change our relationship with ancient texts today? It's a powerful reminder that translation isn't just about swapping words around, it's about intense historical detective work. Thank you so much for diving into the brilliant minds of the Second Oxford Company with me today. Keep asking questions and keep learning.